and welcome to another episode of Hoopla. It's your boy Rel. Got a very special guest today, one of my former teammates, basketball extraordinaire, over 10 years pro in Europe, mostly in Germany, former coach, currently basketball specialist out in Europe. My boy Ronny, aka Smooth Handles. What's good, Ronny?
What's up? How you doing? Thanks
Good,
for
Ronny.
having me.
Yeah, man, all the way from Germany. It's been a while. Been trying to get this in the works for a little bit. Happy to have you on here. Really
Yep.
appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. So, like I said, me and Ronny, we actually played together in Germany. So I owe a lot of me being sane in Germany to Ronny. Like, I appreciate you for that. Like, literally, when I got to Germany, I remember like when I first landed in Germany. Obviously, I didn't know anyone there. So I remember, I think it was Gunther picked me up from the airport,
Yeah.
and he was like, I remember we drove to the town, and it was the first time ever, obviously being the first time on the autobahn. So he was flying he was going like driving crazy on the autobahn, and I remember I remember distinctly there was one part where he was going like. I would say, because it wasn't in miles per hour, but it was probably like 90, 95 miles per hour. But he was in I guess the left lane, so he would go like right behind the person in front, so they could I guess they were going too slow, so they could go over, and he's going like 90, 95, like speeding up behind people so they could go in the other lane. I was like, yo, this is some crazy shit. So he drops us. So literally, he drops me off in front, and he's like, "All right, this is it. Like, this is your apartment." And I don't know. I think he might have brought me. He brought me in, and he introduced me to you, and then he just left. Like, he was just like, "All right, that's it. Like, practice is
that's your practice
night or something."
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I was
that's how it goes, man. They just pick you up. You had your first experience on the autobahn, like right when you come off the plane. Yeah. I know you're tripping about that part, and then you're just there. I'm like, oh, you're here now. Get some rest, and then we off to practice after that.
Yeah, it was crazy. I just remember the first thing I was like, yo, just teach me how to get food, bro, and I can figure everything. I can figure everything else out. Like, just show me how to get food out here, and then I'll be good. Like, I'll be good. I remember just the little going to the grocery store. We went that first day, like within maybe the first hour I got there.
Yeah.
That was the first thing we did. We went to the grocery store, and I was like, I bet I can figure everything else. I can figure everything else from here. Like, everything else is good.
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy. So how is everything in Germany as far as the basketball now? So you're doing are you working with teams now, or are you just doing mostly your individual stuff?
Right now I was do a lot of individual stuff. I work with kids during the day, and then sometimes I have some pros come in that's in the area that come for training. Last year I was working with a first league team out here with a women team as an athletic trainer, skills development coach, and so I made a lot of connections through that. And now, just like I said, I'm just out here. I got my own academy, got my gym, and I have kids coming in every day. Like I said, some pros that trying to make it. Just keep pushing them through, and just trying to make everybody better. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
So I actually should have started with this. So tell us a little bit about your background, like how you started with basketball and everything, until where you're at now.
Yeah, you know how old I am? That's a long.
You got time. You got time.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Pre-high school. I mean, played high school like everybody else. High school ball. Played college. Went to the States. I'm a German national, so I actually earned a scholarship to play in the U.S. I played in 3 different schools, and one that was in Iowa. Then I played in Tennessee State, and I played in Marion College in Georgia. And then after that, I tried to get some gigs in the States here and there, but it's really tough. Because for me, it was like, just for you guys coming over here, I didn't know nothing about, getting somebody to help me out to go to a D-League tryout, like to get, all these camps going, stuff like that. I eventually went to one of the camps, but it was just like, I didn't know enough. I didn't have the right people in my corner. And then I just had an agent from Germany. It's like, look, I got a team over here. You come over here. And so I ended up coming back home and played ever since. I think it was 2008. I came back.
Mm.
And then I played till my last season was 1920.
Okay.
So yeah, I had a couple years. So yeah,
Yeah.
and then after that, I got into the training part. Start with personal training, and then kind of got into training kids, and then everything just evolved from there. But I started that I think in like 2014, 15, while I was still playing with the personal training, just on the side to make some extra cash.
Mm.
And just like find something for later because you can't always hoop.
Yeah.
It's going to end one day. And I was like, okay, if I can do a little bit of personal training, make some extra cash, maybe I build my clientele. But then, like I said, I end up going to the basketball route more, and now that's all I do. And then for 2 years now, I have my academy here, and I just train, and I travel a little bit to train some pros here and there. So it's been pretty good to me, man.
Yeah, that's dope. So, question. So, at high school, how you did high school in Germany? So,
Yeah.
how is it? Do high school? Your high school team doesn't have a. Do they? Does the team like? Does your
No,
school
like
have a
we
team?
don't
No,
know.
right?
You play for a club. So
Okay.
as a youth player, they call it here youth players. You play like either U12, 14, 16,
Yeah.
18. I think now it goes up to U19.
Yeah.
And they have a JBBL, NBBL, which is like the highest level you can play over here. And you just go from there, and then get some tape, trying to send that out there, or you got some scouts looking at you, you get seen, and then you earn a scholarship and you're out.
Yeah.
Or
So,
you stay with the club, It's like a first team, it's like a first league club,
mm,
right? And they might even sign you as a pro, at
yeah.
16, 17 years old, and then you just go from there.
Yeah. That's what like Luca and
Exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
That's what.
Yep.
But so how was like getting recruited as like so you weren't playing like high school teams, so how were you able to get recruited from over there? Were you just like sending your tapes out to like American schools, or did they have like a showcase, or what was
It's mostly it was mostly tapes.
that?
Mostly tapes. I had some connections here and there. I had to ask some people, ask some coaches. The good thing, the area where I'm at is we have this military base, which is like the biggest U.S. airport, I think, outside the U.S. military airport. And so it's like a lot of people, and I made some connections, and they kind of helped me out. That's like, oh, you should, I know somebody at this school or that school, send them some tape, and I just went like this, and then.
Yeah, that makes sense. All
Yeah.
right. So fast forward to like where you're at now. So as far as like what I know you started off as doing like the personal train, kind of like
Mhm.
what I was doing, like as far as like the
Yeah.
training athletes. But what made you take that step to like, you know what, I'm gonna do focus a little bit more on the actual like skills part, and because what you're doing now, I mean, being in New York, there's a lot of people that like try to do this, that do the skills training, but where you're at, I mean, I follow the
Yeah.
basketball market all over the world, and in Europe there very little to no one doing what you're doing right now. So it's like, what made you say, you know what, this is a necessity, I need, like people need this, and it was like, all right, I'm gonna just grow from that point.
Basically, it was just I grew up in this area, and like I said, I mentioned before, the military out here was pretty big, a military community.
Mm.
And I knew even back then, like if there's only one place really you can do this in Germany, it's in this area because you have actually people, wanting the training.
Yeah.
At this point when I started, I think Germany, as far as like just the German people, that wasn't like so much on it as far as training.
Yeah.
But in the States they've been doing this. So you have all the military parents, and they have their kids, and we're like, oh, you need training, and that's how I ended up just growing really really fast, and and now I'm here.
Yeah, yeah, that's dope. I just to see you scale so quickly in this, because I mean, we talked about this before multiple times, but there is a lack of that, especially in just Europe in general, as
Oh
far as like people
yeah,
that actually doing like the skills training, and it's like obviously people, you see the videos of people doing the workouts and everything, but there's not really like real actual skills training like that, and it's great to see that being like being in Europe. Surprised that it hasn't been like that for a while, because it's always been
yeah.
great European players. But surprised that there hasn't been more of that. But to see that on the rise it's great, because especially where you are in Germany, because you had Americans, American athletes that are, high school, junior high school, and they need that transition to go back. And then it's like, if you a couple of those guys, you see them, or girls, they go pro from that, and then it's like, it's just how the cycle starts.
Yeah, especially for the kids here, man. I mean, you have all these military kids. They travel. Their parents might only stay here for 4 years, maybe only 2. Then they go to a different country. They might end up in Italy. They go to Korea. They go, all over the world.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for them kids to actually get seen. Especially if they're really talented and they want to put in the work. And like I have a prime example. One of my players I have, I've been training since he was 12 years old, and he had the luxury to stay here in this area because his parents are teachers. So they don't really switch locations like this unless they really want to, And so I trained him since he was 12, and he just signed a full scholarship at Harvard University this past November. So and that's just and that's what's needed, man. And that's actually what I did it for. Because when I grew up, it was so hard for myself to get seen. It was really, really tough. And then I see, I come back here in this area 10 years later, and nothing has changed. So I kind of made an obligation to me. It's like, look, I got to help these kids out because I know how to do it because I did it. Now, like, you have YouTube, you have social media, and now actually, like, you have the knowledge of training people. Like, just put it all together, and you can help so many kids. Just to have a better future. And it's not even about just going to D1. It's going to school in general and continue a basketball career on any level. It's JUCO, D3, D2, NAIA, or Division I, depending on, how good you really are. And, and just keep it moving. So, yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason why I put this podcast together. Because, a lot of people, obviously, they know about the NBA guys. They know, about the stars. And sometimes they don't even know about all NBA guys because obviously a lot of people don't know the stories of like the 15th man or the 12th man, or 15th man now because of COVID, but the 12th man or the, like the guy that most people don't know, but they had a crazy journey to where they're at right now. So like I put this together, this podcast, to bring together, like, just to show people that there's more to basketball than actually playing in the league, and then just more to basketball than just actually playing in itself. So it's like, obviously there's more always, I mean, obviously people don't know, well, most people do know this, but there's more American players playing professionally outside of America than there are in America. So it's not like it's what I'm saying? A lot of people just one-sided when they think that, it's just NBA or G League, whatever the case may be. But there's more Americans. Like when I was in Germany, there was over 100 Americans playing basketball in Germany alone. Like,
in Germany alone, and then you go all over Europe, it's crazy, and then outside of Europe, right? Even like if you talk about China, like or Russia, or something like that, it's crazy. Like, it's all all over
more Americans playing outside.
Yeah, and that just speaks for the sport, and it's crazy because it's like you have so much talent in the U.S., but not everybody going to go to the league. Even maybe if they should have, but they can't because it's like only so many players, and it's like who's your agent,
There's only so many spots.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people they might just end up, then they contract and then they end up overseas, or they go to tryouts but end up overseas, even or G League. I mean, the G League, they're doing a great thing now with actually developing talent, which and they actually I think got from Europe. Because they was doing, they saw Luka and they saw, Europeans, like some of the bigger clubs, what they do. They get, so bigger clubs, example, Real Madrid, they got Luka. So they go out and they get Luka Slovenian. He's not from Spain. What people don't understand, like they actually go out, they get these kids and be like, look, we're going to take care of your education. We're going to train you. We're going to put you on the pro team. You have a chance to be a pro, stuff like that. And they really work with him and really develop their talent. And that's what you see, and that's why they're so skilled. That's why they're so skilled. In America, in the U.S., it's more like that y'all are athletes. Everybody comes out the gym. You know what I'm saying? And I think now with Steph, it kind of changes. People see you can be short and you can handle the ball. Or Kyrie, same thing.
A
nice jump shot, and people actually putting in work, and I think that's good for basketball. And I love to see the progress. And I think it's just the beginning, too.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, I've talked to a couple other people on the show about it. And it's like, just to think about how much the difference of just how the skill level between when we played, which it wasn't that long ago. I mean, so when we first started, like high school, you know,
Yeah.
we took about
Yeah.
15, 20 years ago compared to
Mhm.
now, the skill level. But not only that, the kids are actually getting in the gym, like putting in real work early, and they understand it early. Because, like, I mean, like I always talked about, like what got me into like doing like this, the actual
Mhm.
strength and conditioning
Mhm.
part was when we were growing up. New York is like the mecca of basketball. So outside of
Yeah.
the Knicks are trash, but outside of the Knicks, we are the mecca. Like New York is the mecca of basketball as far as like
Yeah.
street ball, just the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah,
the
for
whole
sure.
culture of basketball.
Mhm.
So even when I was younger, there were always people that were coaches and all that stuff. They're great coaches here, but there weren't a lot of people doing like the strength conditioning or doing that side of it. So like when I got to college, or like when my boys went to college, we were all behind on like little things that my boys that went to prep school were doing already for a year or two. You know what I'm saying? Like just even like the working out or how to,
Mhm.
conditioning, all that type of stuff. So it's like that gap is being filled now a little bit more, because I mean even now, I mean not even I mean that particular gap is being filled more now than it was then, but that
Oh, yeah,
gap
for
is
sure.
still kind of slim though,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's still a lot of people that's still not getting that gap. But even like the skills training, there wasn't as much skills trainers back even 10 years ago compared to where it is now, which is a
Yeah.
good. I mean, I guess people have their own opinions. Sometimes it could be bad depending on who it is, but I think overall it's good. It's a
Yeah.
good thing just to see like kids like, I'm 12 years old and I want to work out with a trainer. Like that's
Yeah.
unheard of in 2000, 2001
Yeah.
when we were doing
Yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I mean, like my youngest client, she's 8 years old.
yeah, that's
She comes to
crazy.
the gym and she's telling me I'm trying to go to the league at 8. I'm like,
Yeah,
what? Really? I was like,
yeah, that's
okay.
crazy.
And she
And
actually put in the work. Like she in there, like she's focused and she's killing it. Like she's just, and I'm just happy to see that, man. And
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. 8 years old and just, and they're getting younger and younger. It's crazy.
Yeah, you dedicated. I mean, and not saying that they didn't have that obviously before. I mean, look, there's great players that evolved from it, but it's just different as far as like actually having that resource. Because not saying that if there were trainers like there were back then, I definitely would have been getting the training. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah, yeah,
something that I
yeah,
would have wanted, but it just wasn't available like that. There wasn't people doing open work, just work. I mean, there people were, but there wasn't many people doing like the strength conditioning workouts, or doing just like skills training. Not even
yeah,
we're not playing today. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like that
yeah,
type of thing.
yeah,
Like there wasn't
yeah,
much of that, and I love to see that part of it, and I think that's why. Well, I know that's why just
yeah.
everyone is just more skilled now.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like I think I had when I was younger, coming up in high school, I had a coach too that worked me out and his son at the same time. His son ended up going to New Mexico State. He's a great coach now. I think he's coaching a smaller school, but he had a good career. Like and I was just training with them for like 2 years. Like really changed my game immediately.
Yeah,
And I mean, you can say I was lucky to have somebody around like that. And at that time, that's really true because
yeah,
nobody else was doing it. It
yeah,
was just me and him doing it. And in this whole area, it was nobody else. And now I can, I kind of took that on. And now I have like 45 kids in my gym training. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So that's a big difference to two people. And now you got 45, like
yeah,
12 years later, 15 years later. So
yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah.
And also too, I mean, it's just obviously you're still kind of like in the beginning stages of it, but the long-term effects of we talking 20, 15, 20 years from now those players are older and they're like, all right, now I want to do this now.
Oh, yeah.
Like
That's
they played
snowball
they
effect.
played their
Yeah.
career, and then now they like, this is what I want to do now. So it's like it's
Mhm.
it's a start of something like that's how it starts, and that's just
Mhm.
improves the culture of the game.
Yeah, yeah, and it's beautiful to watch, man. And like you said, it's just the beginning. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be interesting.
So, I mean, as far as like, how do you think, like, as far as just German basketball, how do you think the difference of German basketball has changed from just like, not even from like just German natives, as far as from like maybe 10, 20 years from like 10, 20 years ago to now?
Um, I, it grew just like like the league grew. The game changed. Especially over here, I have to say, compared to years ago when before I went to school and stuff like that, and then coming back, it's a lot more athletic
Mm.
over here now, and it's a lot faster.
Yeah.
A lot more skill set. There's a lot more. You have isolation plays too. It's not just
Mm.
moving the ball, and you got to be a bucket. Like if you want to get the check, you got to be a bucket.
Yeah.
Like that's basically what it is. But at the same time, you have to win. You can't drop 40 and lose every game and expect a new contract the next year just because you drop 40. It don't work like that. Like
Yeah.
it's really a business now, and it's been growing. I mean, you watch the Euro League. They have another league called the Champions League, which is all over Europe, where it's the best teams playing against each other. So it's and again, it's just the beginning. I think
Yeah.
it's going to keep growing and growing, and like the German league is pretty tough now. Like it has some really good players from the first, the second league, all of that. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's like again, it's just the beginning. It's just going to get better, and the players getting better with the skills training again. They just starting improving and
Yeah,
stuff.
bro. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they got to the point. I mean, this is to the point now where it's like even NBA, they're hiring like a skills trainer as a coach. Like they have a skills coach. Like,
Mhm,
so, I mean,
mhm.
people
We
are really,
over here we a little behind on that. I think because over here they say they're doing skills training, but most of the time it's one of the assistant coaches,
yeah,
doing the training, whatever. They look at YouTube, find some drills, and they do it, stuff like that.
yeah,
But it's not. I don't think it's really like play enhancement training like they're
mm,
doing in the league now. I think that's the big gap that got to be closed. But the problem is too, you got to find the right people for that first.
yeah,
How
yeah,
you gonna enhance a player if you don't know how to?
yeah,
Like watching film, watching really the moves, how you can add something to that play that makes that player better in certain situations of the game, especially when it comes to position play. If you're big and you don't know how to pivot this way or that way, or stuff like that. This is simple stuff. Or
yeah,
you're a guard and you got to work on your jab, you got to work on your balance, you got to work on different moves that works for you because you don't want to. Everybody's different too, and that's a big thing what people don't understand at the same time is like they do one thing with everybody else
yeah,
but everybody is different, everybody
different.
plays different, everybody has their own unique style to the game. And so I tell my players, I give a move, for example, I just tell them, oh, make it yours.
Mm,
I can teach you the footwork, make it yours however is comfortable to you, and
yeah,
try to make it work. I know I'm giving it to you and what it's supposed to do for you. So just make it yours and then go from there. And I think that's the biggest thing. You have a lot of assistant coaches doing skills training and not really enhancement like they do in the league now. Like
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like that's the difference between now and before. It's like the just being focused on particular things. I mean, the difference between, I mean, obviously you had players doing it like the Kobe's and the Jordans, like really studying the tape and doing all that type of thing. But now the trainers are doing it now. Like I can watching the videos and I can putting things that translate into it, like you said, like your balance, like
Mm-hmm.
the issue might not be basketball related. It might be something that you have to go to the gym, the
Yes.
weight
Yes.
training room for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like just looking at different things like that, like footwork, things like that. That's not always a basketball thing. That's just something that you have to work on outside of that. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think that's one of the biggest differences between back then and now is that everyone is focused on like the little things, and because that's what separates a good player and a great player, the
Yeah.
little things,
Yeah, it's really the attention to detail. Like that's really what it is. Like I feel like and like you said, you have to really understand. Like when it comes to balance, or for example, that's not always just footwork. Like it's really like okay, your hip in this part, in this move is not strong enough, or your knee is not strong enough, or something like that, and you got to work on that. So you got to put it all together. And it's not a lot of people that understand that, and I think that's really the problem. Like because people they do okay, you have strength training and then you have skills training. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? And that's it. But people need to understand this. Like you can put this together
get together.
and help your players even more doing so.
Yeah, I mean that was part of what got me into like what I do too as well, because it's like I was doing the strength. I was doing like the skills training before. I mean, that was just something I did even in like college. I did that to get money. Like I worked at Five
Yeah,
Star, and I
yeah,
did. I was doing that just to just to get money. But at the same time, I knew that I always was always loved watching. Even though I wasn't huge on like actually working out, I always loved watching videos of like strength and conditioning workouts for athletes. I
yeah,
don't know, just something I always just loved doing. Like I used to
yeah,
watch Braun,
yeah,
like with the bands and all that other stuff. And even in high school, I was the guy that had like the bands and the parachute and all that. I
yeah,
wasn't the one in the weight room, but I was the one doing like all that type of stuff. So I
yeah,
like for me, it was just like bringing all that together because it's like you need that to it's you could do that in the weight room, but at the same time, it's like you have to make it to your sport because in the weight room that could be any sport. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like
That's true.
you have to
Yeah.
put it into the sport that you play. So
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest
and
difference.
same thing. It's like it's not always just running.
Yeah,
Like a lot of because they play so much now because of AU and that's actually a big issue I see with AU and then playing your season and then you don't really get rest. And then when you get ready, they just run everybody. So you never really let your body recover from
yeah,
anything.
yep, yeah,
And now that's a big issue I think, especially on the female side. It's the girls get hurt earlier than they used to back in the day. Like the
yeah,
ACL injuries, they just popping up, and same with Achilles injuries. Just because people don't get rest, they don't get proper rest, they don't work on their bodies. All they do is just play now.
yeah,
Run and be in the gym and run, but you don't need to do. You just don't really need to run to keep your cardio. You can do the band work.
yeah.
Doing band work, like getting your heart rate up. You can work on your cardio different
Without
kind of
running.
ways without even running.
Yeah,
And that's a big issue, and especially with AU ball and all that, like the kids don't get a break, man, and
yeah,
their bodies just break down early, and it's really sad to see, man. I think that really need to change. That
yeah.
was one big issue that need to change, yeah, for sure.
I mean I agree with that too because if you really think about it, it's like besides just the actual playing, you don't have time to I mean, rest, yes, but you don't also have time to build. So you can't build your body up. If you in the league, like these players are spending those 3-4 months in the off season and they're hitting the weight room crazy, 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 crazy. They're not playing as much. So it's like they're not as these younger players, they're not able to do that because there's no time where they could, I could build my weight up. So I might have to gain 5-10 pounds to get to
Yeah,
this level. There's no time for them to do that because they got games. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's
this.
the injury prevention part. Getting in the weight room. Like you need all that. You need to
Yeah,
build your strength. You need to build with your knees. You need to build good core and good hips. Like all of that. Like being mobile and all that.
yeah,
Just playing, just get you tight, and then that's why I tell my athletes like yoga. Do yoga
yeah,
if you can. Work on a lot of core. Do a lot of core stuff. And now I'm just working with bands most of the time, TRX most of the time with the athlete instead of heavy weight because it's too much on your joints, like
yeah,
just like that. And I think like that really need to be taught even more, like because
yeah,
especially in high school, I think, and
yeah.
then rest too, because I tell my athletes too, less is more sometimes. Your
Yep.
body need to recover. Your body's going to get better if you get rest too.
If you rested, yep.
Sleep,
Yeah, a lot of
sleep
people
is
don't understand that. I mean,
important. Yeah,
not even the athletes. I mean, I train even like just training too. This you see that all
mm,
the time. It's like
yeah,
even for me sometimes. I mean, I get caught up into it where I'm like, oh, I'm working out I'm working out 6 days a week, and
yeah,
then there's times where I just take days off, and I'm like, I actually feel. I mean, I actually look bigger. I feel like I feel better. I'm stronger because you need to rest. Like you need to rest, and it's for like let's say you have. I mean, especially now, there's a lot of these high school kids. They're good. They're playing basketball all the time. But it's
yeah,
like for them to get to the next level, they might have to gain 5 pounds of muscle, for them to get to and you can't, the only way for you to do that, you have to get 10 pounds. You have to gain 10 pounds, to get to that 5 pounds and then work your way down. So it's like, there's no way of doing that because you know what I'm saying? Because you're playing games. So
exactly.
now when you get to
Yeah,
college, now
yeah.
you're still at that same weight and then you're getting pushed around because these kids have the weight room and in the off season they're not playing as much as they did in high school. They're in the
Mhm.
weight room in Kentucky and UNC. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Like they're
yeah,
in
yeah,
the weight
yeah,
room in the summer. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's a part of it too.
yeah, yeah, and especially starting early too. Like you want to have a foundation early. And then down the road, because that helps you down the road, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like just having a good foundation helps you down the road. Like even starting, you can start strength training now at 14, 15 years old, and really like get your body. I mean, not really like bulk up, but to get stronger. Get your joints better, stuff like that. Because down the road, if you play so much, like I said, it's just going to be a tear on your body, and then you're just going to have injury after injury after injury, and it's really hard to get out of that. Once you have one, and then there's another one. Whew, I mean, people coming back from it, but you're never going to really get that full potential what you had before unless you change some things, and that's really what people have to understand. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, you see it all the time, especially in the league. Like a guy gets that one injury, and then it's just like every couple months is always a little something here, something here. Yeah. So it's always that too. Yeah. I think rest is key. Like a lot of people don't understand that, and not just in sports, just everything. Like I'm a huge advocate for like naps and shit, like taking naps.
Yes.
And like people, I mean, I've been doing it even for college. Like before games, I used to have to take a nap. Like I don't know, it was just like I felt better, So like I looked into it, like really looked into it, and it's a lot to it. Like like naps or just taking like just really resting will make you a better person. Like that's not, it's not like it's scientifically proven. Like
I was just gonna say that there's actually studies on that your shooting percentage, if you take a nap before the game, it's a lot, or you have proper rest and had a good sleep the night before, your shooting percentage is a lot higher than if you only sleep like 5 or 6 hours the night before.
Yeah,
like it really, people don't get it. I was like, yo, this is really a true thing. Like, this is real. Really, there's a study on it. And I can talk for myself. You remember I shot a lot of threes. I shot a lot of shots, like from the outside sometimes. And I can definitely say when I was not as rested, I was a little bit more off than when I really had my 8-9 hours of sleep, and my focus was completely different, and everything just felt more in sync. My focus was better. But at this time, like you don't know now, thinking back, and then with that study, I'm like, oh, it makes sense because this happened because of that. But then at that time, you just think, okay, maybe I didn't eat right, or I didn't have enough water.
It's an off day.
So
I mean, that's the thing. It's like even like the NBA's, obviously they do a lot of studies and all that stuff. And one of the reasons why they were trying to cut back on like the back-to-backs, because there's studies that said like the days that you play, if you play a back-to-back, most injuries happen on that second day of the back-to-back.
Exactly.
So like whether it's traveling, a lot of those teams are traveling, so your game might end at 10. You got to travel to the next city. You don't get there to 4 or 5, 3, 4 in the morning. By the time you sleep, you only get in 5 hours, and then boom, you tired. Make a stupid move, or like not a stupid move, but make a move that you probably wouldn't do if you were awake and aware, and then boom, you're injured. So it's like little things like that, like even injuries.
Your body didn't recover. Your body didn't. You can't tell me you played for, especially when you started in the league. You play your 38, 40 minutes. Then you, like you said, you travel. You might have to, go to a hotel, get your bag, maybe eat something, go on a plane, fly out, go to the next game, like, and then you play, and it's not even like sometimes not even a bad move. It's just like you going up for a layup and your knee give up, or something, or your muscle just pull. You just pull something because you didn't have the rest that your body needed to recover.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot too. I mean, sleeping is very important. I always like to tell my clients that, and it's like it's good to see other people on the same level. I mean, it's scientifically proven. It's not like that's not unheard of. But I mean, just little things like that, and I think that's important. This is the reason why we have podcasts like this, and also the reason why we have trainers like us to be able to share things like that, because I mean, these are the things that we didn't hear, growing up and being in a position like a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people say this, like, oh, if I knew the things that I knew now, I would be. And obviously, yes, I do agree, but I don't even think that. Even if I knew someone that knew the things that I knew now, it doesn't have to be me. Like, even if I knew someone that was doing the same thing that I was doing or you were doing, I think I would be a different player now. I mean, not now, but I would have been a different player in my head. What I'm saying?
Yeah. Just having that input changes everything.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, we as players, we was like, okay, you're always trying to get better. You're trying to figure things out. But it's not like it is now. Like we learned. You basically learn through experience. You
Mhm.
know, and
Yeah.
just trying different things out. And I mean, I can say I had a long career. Like I played 13 years on
Yeah.
a good level, and you know, and I never had a job. Like I just played basketball my life. So you know, I can say you know I had a decent career. And now doing this, like I learned that taught me a lot. You know, just about my body, about nutrition, about training. You know, just overall, it was just you know, and that's what I teach. You know, my athletes now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, and it is great to see it just happening everywhere. You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I mean, living in New York, sometimes you get caught up into like the basketball scene because it's a huge scene here. Like it's a lot going on, and just to see like the same things, same people, the people with the same type of mindsets everywhere, it's great, especially just being in the basketball community because
Yes,
I mean that's what it's all about, you know.
exactly.
And I think that like I said before, it's something that's going to trickle down because just like I had people in my life growing up that inspired me to do what I'm doing now. I pass that on to someone else or a few
Exactly.
people.
Yeah.
You pass it on to a few people. You know,
Yeah.
like so. It's
Yeah.
just all things that are trickle down and it will help the game of basketball. Because I mean, I do think the game is. I do think there's some things that I don't like about the game of basketball, especially the NBA now. But at the same time, I think the level of skill and talent is just at an all time high. Like I'm seeing like watching little kids play, you know, 10, 11 years old. And I'm like, yo, these kids are like these kids are ridiculous. Like what?
Yeah.
And it's
Going
like
at it too. Going at it.
yeah,
Talking and
and it's
everything.
like
Yes.
before. I mean, obviously there were kids that were 10, 11 that were really good back then, but to me, it just feels like there's a lot more of them though. Now
Oh
it's like
yeah.
they're
Definitely.
gathered and
Mhm.
they're going crazy and they going crazy, and it's like it's a good thing to see. I mean, I enjoy as a fan, I enjoy seeing it, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that I do like to see, like as far as the game of basketball grow. Because I mean, for me, the game of basketball obviously just way more than the league, especially being here in New York. It's like the summertime here is basketball every day. All you gotta do is walk outside. There's gonna be a game somewhere. You know, it's like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
basketball all over. So it's like there's a lot more to it for me than just the NBA, and that's why I created this just to let people know and show people that you know there's a lot more to it. You could have a
Yeah, so much
career
good
in
basketball,
basketball.
man. It's so much good basketball. Like
Yeah,
just like, and then over here too, like just you know in Europe, like you're watching Euro League, you're watching you know like I said the Champions League, or just like even like the other levels we have here, first league here in Germany, you have the Pro A, Pro B, whatever. People really going at it, and it's some good basketball. And it's like the
yeah,
European basketball is different than the NBA, of course, because of
yeah.
the rules we have. The court, like the 3-point line, is a lot closer, so it makes everything a lot more dense in. You know,
Mhm.
so you got to run some more plays, but you have some isolation and people are physical. Like the refs don't really call nothing. I
Yeah.
mean, you experienced it. You know, the refs don't
Europe
call
is definitely
nothing.
a
Yeah,
lot more physical than
they
America.
don't call nothing. Like so, it's like a 50-50 thing. Like
It would be
you
like
can
how
make the
'90s
same
when I would
foul.
guess
No,
'90s
you can
what.
make the same foul and get a call one play, and the next play you don't get the call.
All right, so I agree with that. So that's the only thing. So a lot of people always ask me like, what's the difference between Europe and America as far as rules? And I'm like, one is more physical, which I enjoyed because just the type of game that I played, I would just
Yes,
play a little
yeah,
more physical
I
game.
love it.
So like they were able to do like you back then you were able to do like the little elbow to the body type shit. So I
Mhm.
was cool with that because I actually preferred that, especially if somebody defending me like that. Like I'd rather you throw the elbow on me.
You
It's
can even
easy.
put your hand on it. Like now, like you can put your hand on it, like all that. And in states,
Oh,
like, I came to the states and it was like, put your hand off. I was like, what you mean? Like it
yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
Oh,
oh, the
yeah.
skin
They
taking.
yeah
I'm like,
they
oh,
did that.
I was like,
Yeah,
you can't even do that. That's crazy. That's
yeah.
how we play defense. I don't know.
Yeah, nah, they don't do that. Yeah, but
Yeah,
nah, but
yeah,
the one thing though I do say about there is it's physical, but it could be very physical, and then it could just be the same play could be like a foul, like within
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a
the
little
same.
touch could be a foul. A little touch could be a foul.
Yeah, it's
And
like
yeah,
it could be
yeah,
like something crazy physical, and they'll let that go, and then it'll be like something very minor, and they'll be like foul, and I'm like what? Like that's the only thing that threw me off because there were some things I can't remember the minor side, but I know like there was times where people were really leaning into you, like had the elbow out, leaning
yeah,
into you,
yeah,
like, and I mean I
yeah.
preferred that. Like I don't mind like players doing that, because to me it's easier to as an offensive player. But I was like, yo, in the States, they could never do that. Even if they put that elbow up, like when I was in college, if they even put that elbow up, the ref is like, no, put that down. They're like, yo, put it down. Like maybe a little bit like in the beginning, but once you catch the ball, you can't put that elbow. You got to put your elbow down. So like little stuff like that, like, and it's like, if you, it's a thing that if you are American and you are trying to play overseas, obviously you gotta, those are little things that you would never think of, but it's little things that you gotta learn. Like you gotta learn. Like, I mean, it was something that I learned really quick. I mean, but just because it's something that played more in my favor. But at the same time, it's like there's little things like the hand checks and obviously like the, you know, like grabbing off the rim, that like little stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
And that's one rule actually. Like that's actually like people don't understand. Like as soon as the ball touches the rim, you can just smack it off.
Yeah, that's
Like you can shoot a three, and as soon as it hits the back of the rim, you just wipe that off.
Yeah,
like, it's no goaltending or nothing.
Yeah, that's
the only thing you can do is go from underneath. But if you're over the rim, you can just smack it out.
You can just hit it away. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the bigger things too. Yeah, like that. Those little things, I think that people like you don't think about when you play, but when you go to another country, it's like, damn, this is like, you know, rules. The little rules could change how you play your game. You know, like there's little things like that.
I mean, but that's the thing too. Is like that's the FIBA rules. So that's the world kind of like that's the rules you use in the World Championships. That's the rules you have in the Olympics. You know, it's just like the NBA has different rules and college basketball has different rules, and that's what it is.
Yeah. And honestly, college and NBA rules aren't the same. You know, on everything. So it's like even the transition from college to NBA, you got to learn. There's certain things you would have to learn. So it's like, it just no matter where you are, you got to, you know, the rules change. I mean, even high school to college. I mean, no, high school and college is kind of the same. I would say they're mostly the same. Just maybe like little things here or there. But
the only thing I would add to high school now is really a shot clock.
Shot clock. Yeah, I think only certain states. I think some states are doing that. I never understood why they didn't do the shot clock. I think they used to do. I think. Even when I was younger, women always had the shot clock, and then guys didn't, or something like that. I think it was something like that. Like, but I don't get why you don't have a shot clock. It just, like, I don't know. I don't get it. Just the fact of like, just the thought of seeing people hold the ball for like so long, then the game would just. I mean, I've never been in a game like that, but I've seen videos, you know, with no shot clock, and then like games just close, holding the ball and shit. Like, I that would just infuriate me.
I couldn't even watch that. I can't even watch that.
I can't. But the shot clock, that makes sense. I mean, I guess they think that high school kids is not going to ever. they putting up shots early anyway, so they're like, yo, they might not need it, but no, shot clock, yes, I fully agree with that one.
Yeah.
All right, so always like before we close out, always like to ask the guests. So let me know like list of like the players that NBA players or any players in general, basketball players that like influence you growing up, like your favorite players to watch or whatever, your favorite teams to watch growing up, and then your favorite players and teams to watch now. Yeah, to watch.
Okay. Growing up, for sure, player Michael Jordan. For sure. And then the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe.
Okay.
You know, so I would go with the Bulls first, and then keep growing. So like 2000s, like was more like the Lakers. The early 90s was more like the Bulls. Like so those kind of teams. And now probably I would definitely go with the Golden State Warriors because they changed the game. Steph changed the game. And right now I really like the Bulls. The way they've been playing lately. I know they lost the last two against, the Nets and Golden State. Deficits, but you have that, and I think they come back from that and they're gonna grow. And
that was due.
Even where they at from the last couple of years to where they're at now to be like number 2 in the East, it's a big jump, and I think they're just gonna get better. It's gonna take them some time, but they're just gonna get better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they this is gonna happen. I mean, the Nets had something to prove, and then they had Kyrie, and then, like they, they was gonna win, and then the Warriors, you knew they was gonna win because they got smacked the night before from Milwaukee, And it was like you knew that they needed to get they needed to show
yeah, you can kind of tell sometimes. Yes, you can.
Yeah, like I knew from the beginning. I was like, all right, they gonna come out. They're gonna try to come out, but I didn't know they was gonna. I mean, they were up by like 30 at half. I didn't know it was gonna be that crazy.
Like 78 points at halftime. I think.
Yeah, it was crazy. They was crazy. Like, but I was like, all right, I figured that would happen. But at the same, I mean, I do like the Bulls. Like right now, I like the Bulls. I think that Miami. I have Miami ahead of them right now. I think Miami's a sleeper in the East right now. Like a lot of people kind of sleeping on Miami. Once they get healthy, I think they're getting Bam back. Once they get healthy, I think they're gonna be. I think they're the team that. I think they are the team that could beat Milwaukee as far as matchup wise.
Yeah.
And I think the Nets could beat them too. But I think the Nets are going to struggle because the Bucks are just too big. Like they don't have anyone. They don't have any. I mean, they have like they have Claxton, who's pretty good, young guys like bigs, but they mostly just have power forwards, and it's like
they really don't have nobody to stop Giannis. To be honest with you,
yeah, they have no one. They have no one. Like who they gonna put? Aldridge. Aldridge is cool, but nah, no one. They don't have no one that can go.
Aldridge is too slow to guard him. Like I think that's a big problem.
And I think defensively, like obviously you're gonna have Kyrie, Harden, and KD, but they have people that they could throw on them. Like you're gonna have Middleton and Drew Holiday. To kind of throw on them. So I think that the Nets is the team. I mean, obviously I think the Nets are the best team, but I think Milwaukee is the team that could beat the Nets. But I think the Heat could beat the Bucks though. But I don't think the Heat could beat the Nets, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's all about matchups too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the Hawks, the Heat. I think the Heat match up really well against the Bucks. Like they got the size, they're just as physical. They got the players, like
they got the guards. Yes.
Yeah, they got everything right now. I mean, the Heat haven't really had a full team yet because everybody's been getting hurt. But I think Bam's about to come back in like the next week, and then Jimmy Butler has been playing well. I think they got like the second or third best record in the East right now. The Heat. So I mean, I think the Heat is kind of a sleeper. In the West, Warriors is looking really good. I mean, the Suns are looking good too. Suns are looking just as good. I mean, I think people sleep on the Suns because I don't know. Just because people
they have everything. They have a bench.
Yeah. I mean, they went to the championship last year.
You can never downgrade Chris Paul. His greatness. If he's been doing this for years and still doing it at this level is crazy. They have Ayton. Ayton is a big that he's a new big. I call it like the way he plays. And then even they have Book. So it's I think people are sleeping on them. I mean, they second and they right now like first in the West, I think. But I feel like even for them to be first in the West, like people aren't really talking about them. Everybody's talking about like the Warriors, but no, I think they'll be there. I mean, a team like Utah, I don't really have faith in Utah, so like I don't know. Like Gobert and I like Gobert defensively, but he can't be your second best player. Like I don't think he can't. No.
It's like Donovan Mitchell, he's good too, but he's not gonna have to have 50 every night. Nah, that can't. Yeah. I mean, I think, but they always good regular season team, so they might, I think the sleepers in the West would be Clippers if Kawhi comes back. Because I think the Clippers, I think Kawhi didn't get hurt. I think the Clippers would have won the championship.
Yeah.
I think Clippers if the Kawhi get hurt, if Kawhi comes back, and then the Lakers. I mean, I still got faith in Bron. Like Bron's my guy, so I still think that something's gonna happen there. But honestly, the way that they look, like every time I watch them, like how can they be this bad? Like how are they this bad, bro? Like
I don't get it. Like, with all that talent, like I don't understand. Like I don't
like I get it. You're not gonna be. I don't think they was gonna be like best team, so to speak. But like they're bad. Like and it's like bad. And then like not even like they're we losing to Golden State. We losing to the Nets. They're losing to teams that's not that good. Like they losing to the Kings and shit, like Thunder and shit. Like y'all not good. Like
nah, at all.
That is crazy. I mean, some of it, AD, but you can't bank on AD no more. It's like you don't know when you're gonna come back.
Hey, and that goes back because he getting always injured. Like, and that's that foundation, that foundation right there.
Yeah, he always injured. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I mean, I think the Mavs is solid. I think they fifth right now, but I just think their team is just not good. Like half their team is the Knicks. It's the Knicks. Half their team is the Knicks from like 3 years ago, bro. And it's like, how do you think Luka's great, but no one's that great? You know what I'm saying? Like no one. He not Jordan. Like
yeah.
No one's carrying like I'm looking at their roster like, yo, that's half the Knicks. Like it's crazy how many players that's from the Knicks that's on their team.
That's right. Yeah, I never looked at it like that. But
Yeah,
you're right.
it's Tim Hardaway Jr., Porzingis, Frank Ntilikina, Reggie Bullock. I think Trey Lau. I mean, what's his name? Trey Burke. Trey Burke. I think I don't know if he's still there, but he was there.
Yeah.
And maybe someone else too. I'm like, yo, there's no way y'all going far. Like, there's no way they could go far with that team. I mean, I think Memphis right now is a little bit ahead of them just because they actually have a bunch of like good solid players. Like they have a solid team.
Yeah, that's gonna be like the scary team in the West, I think. Like,
yeah. I think they're fun to watch. I mean, I don't know how they'll be in the playoffs, like in the series, but they're fun to watch though. I think them and the Hornets right now.
John Moran's hops is just out of the world.
Yeah. He's up there with D Rose with prime D Rose, I would say.
Yeah, most definitely. Yep. Way up there.
I would say he's up there with prime D Rose. But I mean, I think that Memphis and Hornets, I think those are the two best teams. Those are my two favorite teams to watch right now because they just
that's a lot of fun. Yeah, that's
they
fun.
run, they throwing alleys, they dunking on people, they're shooting threes, they showboating. So those are my type of teams to watch. Like if I play 2K, like those would be my 2K. Like those would be my 2K teams right now.
Yeah.
Like I love watching Melo Ball, and I used to be a Melo Ball hater for a little bit. I'm not even going front, but he was like 16, and he, the videos of him, and I'm like, he's not gonna be all that good, but he's matured and like he's become one of my favorite players. Like
the thing is too, like I'm with you on that, because like when you saw them at first, like in high school and all, there's a lot of showboarding going on and all of that. I'm like, yo, bro, like slow your roll. But but they actually really put in the work.
Yeah.
The same with Lonzo. I mean,
Lonzo,
I mean, they have to more than what he is, but he's a great asset to the Bulls and what he bringing to the table. I think the Lakers, they kind of like, we let that go for real.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is though, is I think Lonzo's a little different because Lonzo wasn't as showboaty, like if that's a word, like
I was just talking about hype too. I was just talking about
hype. Yeah, he had the hype. He had the hype
and all of that. And it's just it was a lot to it. But I have to really they all put in the work and they deserve what they have. Like that's what it shows. You put in the work, you get somewhere, and then you back it up. You back all this up. You just got
exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, because I mean he's one of my favorite players right now. I mean, I always love Lonzo Ball. I actually got to see him when he was at UCLA, and I just always just liked his game. But it's weird because his game didn't the way he played in high school and college wasn't the way he played in the league. He's starting to actually get back to it a little bit more now, but it was just so weird. I was like, why don't you play the same way you did in like UCLA? Like he was playing almost like not like Steph, but he was playing like almost like LaMelo does. Like he was playing like that. Yeah. And then he kind of like, I don't know. I mean, obviously going to the Lakers and stuff, they were really bad, all that. But I mean, and I seen something like people were talking about the Lakers trade, like, oh, do you think that it was a bad trade now because AD always gets hurt? But it's like the Lakers won the championship, and I don't think they would have won the championship with like.
Yeah, and then I think it was the best thing that could have happened to Lonzo though, because being at home, having all that pressure, and you understand basketball is still a mental sport too. Yeah, and it's like that got to get on you, man. And I think him going out of LA. And then actually working on his game, like helped us mental a lot, and they changed the shot. So it was like I think it was the best thing that could have happened to him, and the Bulls just happy to have him because he's a great asset to their team. Yeah,
I mean, him, Ingram, same thing. I think same thing with Ingram too. He needed to get out of LA. Like even he used to talk about like like I'm a small town kid. Like I'm not really like used to the lights and stuff like that. I mean. I think that helped them. All of them. I mean, all those guys. Even Kuzma. Kuzma's out here getting buckets now. Like sometimes you gotta your best. I mean, unless you elite. Sometimes your best. You gotta change your situation to get.
Situations change everything, man. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, even like a guy like a Steph Curry. Like I always talk about, a lot of people always talk about like, Mark Jackson started the whole thing, and then Steve Kerr
Yeah,
took over, and it's like, yes, in some sense, like, yes, Mark Jackson did start, like they started with
yeah.
Mark Jackson, but the difference between Steve Kerr and I think Mark Jackson, outside of everything, I think it was Steve Kerr gave Steph Curry the ultimate green light that Mark Jackson was not gonna give
No,
him.
because they're two different types of players. Steve Kerr was a shooter too, so he
Yeah,
knows. Mark Jackson was a great point guard, like great
yeah,
point guard. So he wants a slow kind of game. You
yeah,
can
yeah,
push the ball when you have it, but then take it out, run the set, and shoot your shot when you have it. But I think with Steve Kerr, it's just like you have so much more shooting experience, and I think
yeah,
that's kind of like more like he created the Splash Brothers, if you say, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
And
yeah,
and also too, I mean, I think also along with that, I think the difference too is like Mark Jackson had more of that like old school mentality, like
yeah,
mindset, where Steve Kerr was, even though he wasn't a coach, he was around the NBA up until he coached, so he was watching like how the game was changing. So he was able to be like, yo, Steph, I know this shot is ridiculous, but if you want to shoot it and you think you got it, you could do it. And a lot of coaches back then were not allowing that. Like that was like Mark Jackson. Like if Steph Curry would have pulled up like from 10 feet behind the three with Mark Jackson as coach, he probably would get subbed out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that wouldn't be allowed. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like it
Shoot
just
from the logo and stuff, and hitting game
yeah,
winner.
like that's
And
that
now
wouldn't
and
be
now everybody's doing it.
yeah.
Everybody's doing it from the logo now. Like
Yeah. So now it changes the way coaching is now. Cause now
yeah,
if you a
yeah.
coach, you like, all right, Trey
Mm-hmm.
Young, go ahead and shoot it now. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Where if it was 10 years ago, you would be like, hell no, you're not shooting now. Like, you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? You would never tell a player to do it. It's like all that shit, like that's how the Warriors as a team changed the game. Not obviously Steph, the player, but if you really think about it, just the team in itself, like even from coaching, because like for Steve Kerr to be like, yo, and you always see videos of him like encouraging stuff like, yo, keep shooting, like keep doing that. Like other coaches, they would
yeah,
not, especially the old school type coaches, they would not be like, yo, keep shooting from 40. You know what I'm saying? Like they would not be saying, you know what I'm saying? Like they would not
yeah.
say that. It's crazy how that
It's
whole thing
crazy.
just how
Yeah,
they just changed everything from that,
yeah,
because that's changed to the norm now. It's like even you starting to see a little bit more in college now. I'm watching college games. This kid's pulling up from like 6 feet behind the three. They making it because they practice it, but it's like you would never see that in games 10, 15 years ago. Like even attempting that, except for like maybe Jimmer for that. They had like the Jimmer range. You know what I'm saying? But like these kids just coming up, pulling up, boom, knocking it down. Is like just like it's a regular jump shot, and it's like you
hmm
wouldn't really see that much back then. Even 10, 15 years ago, let alone 30, 40, 50 years.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Most definitely. That's
But yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy how they changed the game in that sense.
Yeah,
How,
and then the volume you take the threes now. That's so you had
yeah,
games like back then maybe you had like 5 or 10 threes throughout the whole game as a
yeah,
team.
yeah.
Now
Now one
players
person
taking
doing it.
15 threes, players, not the whole team, players.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like you look at stat sheets, like 48 attempts from 3-point line,
yeah.
36 attempts from 3-point line. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, some of that too is analytics. So it's like all right, if you shoot 35% from three and you shoot 42% from two, then you make it more if you shoot. You know what I'm saying? Like that type
I
of
mean,
thing.
3 points are worth more than 2, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
But but I always tell people though, like as much as the threes is shooting, like shooting threes, everyone, especially in the NBA, everyone's like, we gotta shoot threes. If you look at the playoffs, even like the last few years, when it comes to playoff time, they aren't really shooting. It's everybody get into the mid range and they get into the rack. You know what I'm saying? Like when it's crunch time, they're not really. It's besides if you Steph, he's the greatest
yeah,
shooter of all time. But I'm talking about like just regular, like the regular, like all the other stars. They get into the mid range pull ups. They get into the basket. Like they're not really just pulling up from half. If you Dame Lillard, maybe you might, or Steph, but like as much as people talk about the 3-point shooting, if you really look at when basketball really counts in the championships and the playoffs, they're
yeah,
not really just shooting those threes like that. They get into the rack, they get into
yeah,
their spots in the mid range, they get into the elbow, like all the stuff that you practice.
yeah, yeah.
That's the biggest thing. That's why you see like guys like DeRozan, they think he got like a throwback game, but that's what works. You know, like at the end of the day, that will always work. Like getting to the elbow, getting to your like getting to the block. That will always be it.
Exactly.
All right, so let's wrap it up. So Ronny, let the people know where they can find you. If you have anything going on, websites, all that good stuff.
You can find me on like Instagram at Smooth Handles, and then I'll be on Facebook just under Ronny Weihmann, my name, and but that's about it. Like you just look me up on Insta. That's like more my business site, and Smooth Handles Academy, Smooth Handles Elite Academy. You can find that on Instagram, and I've got a bunch of videos out there, some training stuff, and I put all my content out there.
All right, so look out for that. You can follow me at ITA Movement, ITA.movement. On Instagram, ITAmovement.com. Make sure you subscribe and check out more episodes of Hoopla. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you, Ronny.
Yes, sir.
Long distance much is late there, but I appreciate you for coming on.
Hey, no problem.
Thank y'all. And like that, we out of here.
We out.